Brace yourself, this isn't tabloid gossip or some online rumor. This comes straight from Buckingham Palace, the beating heart of the monarchy, finally breaking its silence after years of pretending not to see. For ages, the world has whispered about Meghan and Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet. Were they ever truly seen as royal? Why did the palace remain so quiet? And why did these two never stand in the same spotlight as William and Kate's children? The rumors piled up, the questions grew louder, but the palace stayed silent, until now. According to sources close to the royals, official documents have already been drawn up. Not drafts, not warnings, final decisions that will forever redefine the royal standing of Archie and Lilibet. The message, harsh yet simple. Their royal identity has been removed. This isn't a family feud or a matter of personal feelings. It's about one thing, royal protocol written in the oldest rulebook of the crown. To understand why the crown took such a decisive step, we have to travel back more than a century to a monarch who carved the royal rules into stone. The year was 1917. Europe was consumed by war, and the royal family faced pressure to preserve its bloodline from confusion, foreign influence, and political unrest. King George V stepped forward and issued what became known as the Letters Patent. These weren't emotional proclamations or passionate speeches, they were cold, deliberate lines of law. But within those dry words lay the framework that would define royal identity for generations. The decree spelled out exactly who had the right to call themselves prince or princess. The conditions were strict. First, the child had to be born of legitimate royal descent. Second, their birth had to be officially acknowledged and documented by the crown. And third, they had to be formally linked to the Church of England. No loopholes, no special treatment. For over 100 years, those rules protected the monarchy, ensuring titles weren't handed out lightly, preserving both lineage and order within the royal hierarchy. And that's where the issue begins. When the crown examined the cases of Archie and Lilibet, it saw children who, through no wrongdoing of their own, didn't fit perfectly within those ancient requirements. Their birth records, their official recognition, even their religious ties all carried subtle inconsistencies that couldn't be ignored. From the moment they entered the world, the clock was already ticking. The royal machinery was merely waiting for its moment to act. That moment came in 2019 with the arrival of baby Archie. At first, everything appeared routine. Public joy, smiling faces, a healthy newborn. But hidden deep within the paperwork, something unexpected appeared. On Archie's birth certificate, Meghan's name was first written as her full legal identity, Rachel Meghan Markle. At first, everything seemed routine, until without any explanation, the official record changed. Meghan's full name disappeared, replaced only by her royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. It raised eyebrows everywhere. Birth certificates aren't fashion accessories, they're legal documents meant to stand the test of time. Yet suddenly this one looked like it had been edited for a press release. Meghan insisted the palace demanded the change. Palace staff claimed otherwise. Both sides denied blame, and in that quiet standoff, a far deeper question began to surface. Was this simply about public image or a calculated move to secure Archie's position in royal law? What was once a straightforward birth entry had now become a tangled issue, layered with uncertainty. Once doubt touches an official record, cracks start forming beneath the surface, and those cracks were spreading. By the time Meghan and Harry welcomed their second child in 2021, the palace had already learned an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes silence makes a louder statement than any public speech. When Lilibet Diana was born, there were no royal trumpets, no formal announcement from Buckingham Palace, no grand hospital photo for the archives. Instead, the news came from across the Atlantic, a perfectly polished press release from sunny California. For centuries, royal births had been monumental occasions, chronicled and celebrated as historical milestones. The newborn was never just a baby, they were living proof of continuity, a physical reminder that the crown endured. Every moment, every signature, every attending physician's note was once recorded in meticulous royal detail. But this time, tradition was quietly replaced by distance. But when it came to Lilibet, everything was different. There was no royal acknowledgement, no ceremonial blessing, no word from the palace at all. It felt as though the monarchy had quietly turned away. Observers who watched the situation unfold described it as unprecedented, like watching the curtain fall on a royal chapter that would never reopen. The child's birth, warmly celebrated in California, seemed completely unclaimed by the British crown. If that silence caused suspicion, what came next sent shockwaves through royal circles. Months later, Meghan proudly announced that Lilibet had been baptized in California, sharing details of the ceremony, the joy, and the family's happiness. But within palace walls, murmurs began to spread. Meghan's team believed the baptism to be fully legitimate. The Church of England, however, did not agree, and in royal tradition, that small difference carries enormous weight. A royal christening is not merely symbolic, it's a formal act that binds the child to the church, the crown, and the centuries of tradition they represent. It's more than water and photographs, it's the moment that writes a name into royal history. Yet palace insiders claimed Lilibet's baptism was never officially recorded by the Church of England, rendering it, in their eyes, invalid. A ritual without legal or royal standing. Instead of solidifying her place in the monarchy, it weakened it. Instead of strengthening her link to royal heritage, it severed it. According to whispers within the palace, the California baptism wasn't seen as a sacred milestone, but as a breach of protocol, a ceremony that held no standing in royal law, that left Lilibet in a delicate, uncertain space, celebrated by her parents but silently disregarded by the institution her family once represented. For Meghan, these weren't just bureaucratic issues or disputes over church records, they cut into the very core of who she was. From the moment she stepped into royal life, her entire image rested on a single idea. She wasn't just Meghan Markle, she was Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, a royal mother. Her children weren't simply her kids, they were heirs to a legacy, living extensions of royal history. That identity became the engine behind everything. The Netflix series, the Spotify deals, the high-profile interviews, the curated Instagram moments, even her latest venture, American Riviera Orchard. She wasn't selling lifestyle products, she was selling an image touched by the crown itself. But that royal glow only held power as long as her children were seen as part of that bloodline. Without it, the entire story collapsed. No royal heirs meant no royal mother, just another Hollywood couple clinging to a fading royal dream. And behind the polished photos and carefully controlled public persona, Meghan carried a fear she couldn't mask. Without those royal ties, what separated her from every other celebrity living under California's sun? For Meghan, the cracks in protocol threatened her brand, but for Harry, it pierced something deeper. It was personal, a matter of blood and belonging. Those close to the palace whisper of restless nights when Harry would quietly pick up the phone to call the family he had once turned away from. His voice wasn't measured or diplomatic, it was desperate. He pleaded with them to reconsider, to ensure his children's names remained part of royal history. Friends say Harry truly believed he could live in both worlds, the son who stepped back and the father whose children stayed royal. He thought leaving his duties wouldn't erase their lineage, that his children would always carry the Windsor name no matter how far from London he'd gone. But when he made his case, the response was ice cold. A palace aide reportedly reduced all his emotion to one chilling line: "This isn't about feelings, it's about order, lineage, and the future of the crown." For Harry, it was like the ground disappeared beneath him. He wasn't just cut off from his family anymore, he was a prince watching his own children vanish from the institution that once defined him. Then came the final blow. Archie and Lilibet lost everything. No royal titles, no ceremonial duties, no position in the line of succession, no crown-funded protection, and no mention in the monarchy's official records. To outsiders, it may seem like mere words or formalities, but inside the royal world, titles mean everything. They are the gatekeepers of legacy, status, and belonging within the centuries-old story of the crown. Without them, Archie and Lilibet's names carry no royal weight, reduced from prince and princess to simply Archie and Lilibet. And unlike temporary suspensions or pauses, this decision wasn't reversible, it was permanent. The paperwork had been filed, the archives updated in real time. In those pages, Meghan and Harry's children were quietly removed from royal history. For years, Meghan and Harry built their image as the monarchy's rebels, giving interviews, signing massive deals, and crafting their own narrative for the world. Every controversy seemed to reinforce that identity. But here's the truth: you can only be a rebel if the crown still acknowledges you. The monarchy knew this. That's why it never responded to every public outburst or media storm. Instead, it waited, silent, strategic, and unshaken. And when the moment arrived, it acted with precision, erasing titles, ending succession rights, cutting the last remaining thread. Archie and Lilibet are no longer royal renegades. They're not even royal exiles. They are simply outsiders, children who will grow up under the California sun, remembered as Meghan and Harry's, but missing from the official lineage of the British monarchy. That silence, the absence of their names in royal records, will echo louder than any interview or documentary ever could. And this brings us to the end. Years of whispers, speculation, and public storytelling met by royal stillness, all concluding with the stroke of a pen. The palace has chosen order over affection, legacy over sentiment. For Meghan and Harry, the fallout is devastating. Their empire, their image, their identity, all built on being royal rebels, now dissolves the moment the crown stops recognizing them. Once you are erased, you're not a rebel, you simply cease to exist. Archie and Lilibet will live freely in California, growing up surrounded by warmth and privilege, but in the official records of royal history, their names won't appear. And that omission, that quiet exclusion, is more severe than any public scandal, because it's permanent, it's final. This isn't just about two children losing royal titles, it's about the crown sending a message louder than any speech: the monarchy does not bow to personalities, no matter how powerful or how loud. In silence, Buckingham Palace has delivered one of the coldest moves in its modern history. After the crown's coldest move, royal watchers asked the same question: how did it come to this? How did a family once bound by tragedy unravel into two rival worlds, one draped in duty, the other in defiance? To understand that, you have to go back to the woman who once held it all together. Princess Diana. She wasn't just a princess. She was the monarchy's heartbeat, the bridge between the people's love and the palace's rules. When she was alive, she softened the crown's sharp edges, humanized its traditions, and most of all, protected her sons from the system's cold indifference. When Diana died, she didn't just leave two boys behind, she left the monarchy without its soul. William and Harry grew up under the same grief but learned opposite lessons from it. William found safety in the institution, choosing structure over emotion. Harry ran from that same structure, searching for the freedom his mother was denied. The result: two brothers shaped by the same pain, walking two very different paths. Insiders say the palace quickly noticed the contrast. William became the embodiment of royal control, steady, careful, the heir the system needed. Harry became the echo of Diana's spirit, impulsive, emotional, unwilling to play by the rules. When Kate Middleton entered the picture, palace aides reportedly breathed a sigh of relief. To them, she was the perfect partner to anchor William, poised, reliable, a reminder of Diana's warmth without her unpredictability. But when Meghan arrived, the balance shifted. Her confidence, independence, and American directness reminded many within those walls of Diana's defiance. Some insiders even whispered that Meghan represented the very qualities the monarchy feared most: the ability to command empathy beyond its control. What followed was a quiet divide that only widened with time. Behind closed doors, advisors allegedly treated the couples differently. William and Kate were framed as the monarchy's restoration project, the image of stability and future order. Harry and Meghan became the unpredictable wild card, the emotional mirror of the system's past mistakes. Without Diana there to bridge that growing tension, misunderstandings hardened into mistrust. She had once been the emotional glue between her sons and the institution. Now that glue was gone and cracks became fault lines. Many within the palace believed things would never have escalated this far if Diana were still alive. She understood both worlds, the crown's need for order and her son's hunger for freedom. She could speak the monarchy's language while still hearing the public's heart. Without her, there was no translator left. The palace defaulted to protocol, the family defaulted to silence. And silence, just like before, became the weapon that destroyed connection. So when the titles disappeared and the royal doors finally closed on Harry and Meghan's children, it wasn't just about documents or tradition. It was the end of something Diana once fought to preserve, the fragile thread that connected love to legacy. And as that thread snapped, the monarchy didn't just lose two young heirs. It lost the last living echo of the woman who once made the crown human. The moment the palace acted, the world split in two. Across Britain, the decision was seen as strength, a quiet assertion that the monarchy still ruled by order, not emotion. But across the ocean in America, it looked cruel, cold, almost inhuman. The press drew battle lines overnight. British outlets called it necessary. American anchors called it heartless. And suddenly it wasn't just about titles anymore, it was about who the world chose to believe. Almost instantly, the ghost of Princess Diana re-entered the conversation. Headlines compared Meghan's pain to Diana's loneliness. Social media lit up with old clips of Diana saying she was treated as a threat for simply being herself. To millions watching, it felt like history was repeating itself. Two women, outsiders, both adored and attacked, standing on opposite sides of the same palace walls. But inside those walls, the narrative was very different. Royal insiders insisted the monarchy wasn't repeating the past, it was correcting it. They claimed the silence this time wasn't heartless, it was strategic. A lesson learned from the chaos of Diana's public unraveling, yet even within the family, those echoes were impossible to ignore. Rumors swirled that William grew uneasy as the comparisons spread. Sources close to the palace say he worried the same wave of global sympathy that once transformed Diana into a legend could now lift Meghan into martyrdom. He had spent decades rebuilding the monarchy's image after their mother's death, only to see old ghosts resurrected through his brother's story. The press that once hounded Diana now feasted on the idea of her legacy being reborn in Meghan. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan's supporters in the US painted a different picture, a modern couple crushed by a system too old to evolve. Every interview, every headline, every silence became proof of a power imbalance between emotion and control. Hashtags exploded. Think pieces debated monarchy versus modernity. What began as a royal story had turned into a cultural war. The same silence that made the crown appear dignified in London made it seem ruthless in Los Angeles. And through it all, the monarchy said nothing. Not a word, no statement, no denial, just the same ancient strategy: outlast the noise. But this time, the silence wasn't empty. It was heavy, loaded with meaning. Because for the first time since Diana's death, the royal family wasn't just managing a crisis, they were reliving one. The palace's refusal to speak didn't end the debate. It fueled it. Every unanswered question became another headline. Every withheld emotion became proof of guilt. As weeks passed, the story stopped being about Harry and Meghan alone. It became about the monarchy's very soul. Could an institution built on restraint survive in an era built on emotion? Could a crown that outlasted wars survive the wrath of a woman with a microphone? No one knew. But as history showed with Diana, silence could protect the crown or destroy it. And this time, no one was sure which it would be. As the headlines faded and the palace remained silent, something far quieter began to unfold across the Atlantic. In Hollywood, the excitement that once surrounded Harry and Meghan started to cool. The same producers and executives who once saw them as a global power couple now saw them as a risk. According to industry whispers, calls stopped being returned, projects quietly stalled, and meetings turned vague. No one wanted to be caught between the crown and controversy. Their royal mystique, once their biggest strength, had become their biggest burden. Without the monarchy's aura, their brand began to lose direction. Meghan's ventures in lifestyle and media, once fueled by her duchess status, no longer carried the same magic. Behind the glossy branding, insiders say there was growing tension. Every move was under a microscope. Every silence from Buckingham Palace felt like an echo reminding the world of what they had lost. The power couple who had once promised to redefine modern royalty suddenly looked like exiles in their own story, free but fading. In private circles, rumors spread that Harry was struggling more than ever. Friends claimed he missed the structure he once resented. He had traded royal duty for freedom, but freedom came with isolation. Sources close to the couple described late-night talks filled with what-ifs. What if they had stayed? What if things had gone differently? But for Meghan, the fight was far from over. Those who know her say she began searching for a new lane, one beyond royal titles or palace politics, political activism, global philanthropy, a new mission that could outshine the one taken from her. Some even claim she sees it as a continuation of what Princess Diana began, using her voice to challenge the power that once silenced her. Yet even that plan faces obstacles. In the glittering world of California, compassion sells, but controversy lingers longer. Brands that once fought for her attention now hesitate. The public that once cheered her independence now questions her motives. Without the royal safety net, the glamour feels heavier. The cameras still flash, but the headlines have changed. The fairy tale has turned into a balancing act between relevance and rejection. And while the palace stays silent, that silence has power. It allows them to look untouched while every word from Meghan or Harry keeps the story alive. It's the same playbook once used against Diana: let time and fatigue wear down the noise until sympathy fades. But this time it's different. There's no comeback tour, no official role waiting. Just two people standing on the edge of history, realizing the institution they challenge doesn't need to fight them, it just needs to outlast them. Now two worlds stand divided, one gilded in silence, the other bathed in sunlight. Buckingham Palace on one side, ancient and immovable. Meghan and Harry on the other, modern and defiant. There are no press releases, no royal statements, no public apologies, just a quiet standoff. One side speaks through absence, the other through exposure. Every smile, every glance, every calculated pause becomes part of the performance. And somewhere in the middle, the ghost of Princess Diana lingers, watching her sons carry out two versions of her unfinished story. Those close to the royal circle whisper that the war isn't over. It's only changed form. Meghan and Harry, they say, are preparing something big. A documentary, a memoir sequel, perhaps even a truth project designed to reclaim the narrative once stolen by silence. The palace knows this. Behind closed doors, aides have allegedly been instructed to prepare for impact. Not with retaliation, but with restraint. No rebuttals, no emotional response. Just the same weapon that has protected the crown for generations. Silence. It's the same strategy that buried Diana's cries beneath polished speeches and formal smiles. It worked once. The question now is, can it still work in an age where every secret becomes a headline? For the monarchy, the mission is survival, protecting legacy at any cost. For Meghan and Harry, it's redemption, proving they were never villains, only exiles of tradition. But every move they make only deepens the divide. Insiders claim Prince William feels the shadow of their mother's legacy tightening around the family again. He carries the burden of preserving what Diana once challenged, the same system that both protected and destroyed her. Harry, meanwhile, walks in her footsteps without realizing how eerily similar his path has become. Two sons, two philosophies, duty and defiance, each believing they're honoring the same woman in different ways. And so the silence endures. It hangs in the halls of Buckingham Palace, seeps through California villas, and echoes in the spaces where words should be. The monarchy doesn't need to fight. It simply waits, because silence for them isn't weakness. It's patience turned into power. It outlasted Diana. It outlasted scandals, divorces, and wars. And now it's being used again, not to destroy but to erase. Yet history has a cruel sense of irony. Diana's voice, once silenced, still shapes every decision the crown makes. Her compassion still defines public memory more than any royal decree. Her image still inspires loyalty that protocol could never command. The monarchy survived her, but it never escaped her. And now through Meghan and Harry, her spirit has returned. Different faces, same rebellion, same refusal to be quiet. In the end, that's the tragedy and brilliance of it all. The crown may keep its composure. The Sussexes may keep their platform, but Diana's legacy is the thread that binds and haunts them both. The monarchy's silence may protect its throne, but it also ensures that her echo will never die. Because some ghosts don't fade with time. They evolve, they adapt, and they wait. And as the world watches this modern royal war unfold, one thing becomes clear. The crown may still belong to the monarchy, but the story belongs to Diana.